What's up, goobers? It's me, your boy, LokiRagnarsson, the #1 most famous VTuber in the world. Last time we talked about how Starfield changes everything. Today we're talking about how you can change Starfield. Before we get into that though, there's just a couple things I want to go over for all you BGS newcomers. Many of us playing now are seasoned Bethesda game vets, but for some of you watching this, Starfield might be your very first Bethesda game ever. So I wanted to take a minute to explain how Starfield mods are going to work in the future and how they're going to be different from some of the other games you might have modded in the past. With many games, if you want to add something in, like a set of new armor or a weapon, you have to replace the model and textures of an existing item. And if you want to add in something more complicated, like new quests or game mechanics, you have to get much more creative. But when Bethesda releases one of their main RPGs, which includes the mainline Elder Scrolls and Fallout games and now Starfield, they do something special. See, Bethesda says that they support mods, but they actually go a step further than that. A few months after the game comes out, they release the very tool that they use to create the game to the public. It's usually called the Creation Kit, if not something more convoluted, and it lets you add new items, new dialogue, new quests, almost anything you can think of. It's even been said that Starfield's Creation Kit will allow modders to add whole new planets to the game, so fingers crossed for Mandalore. To give you an idea of how much can be accomplished with these Creation Kits, just look at Enderall. Enderall isn't just a mod for Skyrim or even just a DLC-sized add-on either, it's actually an entire game that was built from the ground up using Skyrim's Creation Kit. So if you think the mods coming out for Starfield now are cool, you have no idea what's in store for you in the near future. In no time at all, you'll be able to mod the game into something completely unrecognizable. From Star Wars to Star Trek, you could probably mod it back into Skyrim if you put your mind to it. But just because we have to wait for the Creation Kit for the really crazy mods to be possible doesn't mean people aren't making some awesome stuff right this very second. Now, most of the mods I'm about to talk about have already been covered by people much more qualified for reviewing mods than I am. So this isn't really my attempt to review the mods myself and steal anyone's thunder or anything. I just wanted to add yet another voice of endorsement to these super cool mods in case anyone was still needing convincing, and was crazy enough to think of me as a credible source of advice. Speaking of endorsement, if you download and like any of the mods you're about to see, you should definitely head back to the mod page on Nexus and leave the author an endorsement. It helps them a lot and makes sure even more people see their work. Anywho, with all that said and done, let's get to the mods. So, I know the title says these mods will completely change Starfield, and for most of them that's true to some degree, but these first couple that I want to cover are strictly cosmetic. Nothing really game-changing here, but they look absolutely fantastic, and I've been waiting on exactly this since before Starfield even came out, so I had to give them a quick shout-out. And those two mods are Mandalorian Helmet and Mandalorian the Bounty Hunter. Mandalorian the Bounty Hunter is a retextured version of one of the security guard uniforms that replaces the ugly as sin Mantis outfit. It's made to resemble Din Djarin's armor from The Mandalorian, featuring a Mudhorn signet on the right shoulder and, optionally, a Grogu or Mythosaur graphic on the belt-worn PDA. There are a few variants of the outfit, including a No Beskar version that looks a little more beat up and worn like Djarin's outfit from the first couple of episodes. This mod comes with a helmet that's plenty cool, but since for myself I prefer the more classic Mandalorian look with the rangefinder, I use the aptly named Mandalorian Helmet mod in place of the one from the Bounty Hunter mod. This mod is exactly what its title suggests, nothing more, nothing less. There are two versions, a darker and a shinier one. I personally used a shinier one to match with the armor from the last mod that I talked about. The helmet looks absolutely fantastic. You can tell by the dent in the forehead that it's actually supposed to be Boba Fett's helmet, but the chrome retexture makes it a good match for all sorts of outfits. Like the Bounty Hunter mod, this is meant to replace the helmet from the Mantis armor, but I made some modifications to have them both replace the vanilla Bounty Hunter armor instead. I also swapped out the Jetpack model for that of the Deep Seeker Jetpack because I thought it fit the Mando vibes a little better. Okay, with that out of the way, on to the actually game-changing stuff. First up, Jetpack Overhaul. Again, kinda self-explanatory title. I think that's going to be a running theme with this list, but I'll elaborate. In the base game, pressing the jump button while already airborne provides a fixed burst depending on the kind of boost pack you're wearing. Jetpack Overhaul changes the boost mechanics to be more in line with something you'd expect out of a jetpack, and gives you much more control. Now how much you boost will depend on how long you hold down the jump button. You can expend all of your available boost at once to shoot straight up into the air, tap the boost button to gradually slow your descent, and even use it to stop your ascent for extra precision, which is more useful than it sounds. Once you've played with Jetpack Overhaul, you'll never be able to play with the vanilla boost mechanics again. Next, undelayed menus. Not to sound like a broken record, but it does exactly what it says. It removes the delays when opening or closing your main menu and shortens the duration you need to hold a button to exit a menu. As a byproduct of that, it also seems to shorten the time it takes to grab jump or travel from planet to planet using the in-game prompts. I could be crazy, but I think it also makes power distribution faster. If you hold the button to add or remove power from a system in your ship, you can quickly add or remove all power possible. Usually there's a short delay between holding the button and the power distribution taking effect, but after downloading undelayed menus, I noticed that the delay was a little shorter. Sticking to the menu theme for now, next is Star UI Inventory. This is a lot like Sky UI for Skyrim, but with a lot less features. For now. But what it does have is extremely useful. I can't do this one justice at all with a brief description since it does so much, and I strongly suggest you head over to the mod page yourself and read up on how much easier it's going to make your life. But the short version is that it makes the inventory UI significantly more compact and easier to view and manage, while also adding several features such as sorting items by quantity, transferring all items from a category between player inventory and a ship or container, and navigating between categories with the A and D keys rather than needing to back out of a category and navigate to and select another. Next up is Neutral LUTs. I didn't notice at first that every area in Starfield had these strange color filters over them, but I definitely felt like something was off, especially when I entered a cave. Neutral LUTs removes those filters and makes the game look a little more natural and realistic. It seems like a small change, but for me it makes a huge difference in terms of immersion, so it's a must-have in my book. Finally, the last mod I strongly recommend to anyone who favors immersion or is just sick of trying to match pace with quest NPCs they have to follow is Simple Faster Walk. And for the last time, this one pretty much just does what its name suggests, so I don't know how much I can really say about it. It makes you walk faster. I'll take my Emmy now. But seriously, first and foremost, the difference between the player's default walk speed on PC and the speed at which NPCs walk makes me feel things. Anger, denial, depression. I'm pretty sure when I saw this in the opening mission I went through all the stages of grief, though I never quite reached the acceptance stage, and thankfully with this mod I'll never have to. I mean, seriously, isn't there a whole copy pasta about how egregiously unforgivable it is to do this with walking speeds in video games? If you're using a gamepad, of course you can just tilt the joystick forward to the exact amount necessary to keep pace with whoever you're trying to follow. But, first of all, that's annoying, and more than a bit tedious. And second, I just prefer to play with a keyboard and mouse. Plus, with a keyboard you can set yourself to a walking pace, press the auto move key, and just relax and take in the sights. For me, that's actually much bigger than just wanting to keep up with NPCs. See, I'm kind of a weirdo. With a lot of games, Bethesda RPGs in particular, I actually walk from place to place. And I don't just mean that I get around on foot instead of using fast travel. I mean that, plus I literally walk instead of run. Sure, judge me if you like. But after that, since I know beforehand is not a reasonable ask, give it a try for yourself. Bethesda said that New Atlantis was the largest city they'd crafted yet, and I didn't see that at first. I actually thought it felt pretty small, and, well, duh, of course it did. I was zipping around everywhere, running, sprinting, jetpacking around, and at first abusing the ability to fast travel to each individual district. I would have liked to be walking from the start, but crazy as I am, I'm not a masochist. I still want to get where I'm going before Jemison completes a full 48-hour rotation, thank you very much. So you can see where my priorities are, given that I made a video about Starfield mods and somehow spent the most time talking about one that slightly increases your walking speed. So I don't know how much you should rely on me for advice in mod selection. Like I said earlier, there are people much better suited to this kind of thing than I am, so I probably won't be doing another one of these. Maybe after some Creation Kit mods come out, but we'll see. In the meantime, I'll see you nerds out there in the Starfield. Sequels have post-credit scenes.